Hello, I'm Carrie Dara with Grow Cedar Valley, and today we have with us Barb Prather from the Northeast Iowa Food Bank to share some much needed information and updates about what's going on at the food bank. This is a very timely presentation and conversation primarily because of the time of year we are, not only this year, but this year after enduring a pandemic, but it's also the holiday season. So Barb, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Carrie. We really appreciate it.
We're glad to be able to have this conversation. And, we talk all the time and we see each other all the time, but we don't normally have conversations in front of lots of other folks. So today it's important that we share the information that you've been able to share with many people. But first of all, before we get started, can you just give us a brief history on the food bank? I know a lot of people are aware of it and many people are participating and volunteering, but a little bit about the history, if you would, please.
So without going into a lot of detail, the Northeast Iowa Food Bank started in 1981 in response to an emergency need for food in the Cedar Valley. It was about the time that Rath was closing, John Deere was downsizing, all of a sudden there was a lot of people that were without jobs. We began actually as a food pantry, serving people in their time of need. But at the same time, nationally, an organization which today is known as Feeding America was starting because there was a lot of food waste in our country, tractor trailer loads of food waste. And so a small food pantry couldn't take a tractor trailer load of product, but if you bring it in and bank it, many organizations can have access to it. So very quickly, the food bank became a part of the Feeding America network. But still to this day, we've had the pantry, now known as the Cedar Valley Food Pantry, here in Waterloo. The difference between a food bank and a food pantry is a food bank serves organizations and programs, and a food pantry serves people. And where the word food bank is used synonymously is where a lot of people think it's just about serving people food who need it. And that's really a small part of what we do. And over the years, we've grown to not only still provide food to people in need in the Cedar Valley through the Cedar Valley Food Pantry, but also distribute millions of pounds of food annually through a network of other nonprofit organizations in 16 counties, but also many programs, our backpack program, our Kids Cafe, summer feeding, our mobile pantry, which has gotten bigger and bigger just because of the need in our communities outside of Waterloo Cedar Falls, as well as our elderly box program. But everything that the food bank does is about partnership from the donor down to the individual recipient, because we can't do what we do without that partnership to help meet the need at the time, whatever somebody is going through.
Right. Good clarification. Thank you about the difference between the food pantry and the food bank. I think we've all heard both terms, but I didn't realize the clarification and the differences in who is served. So thank you for sharing that. So what has changed over the years? You've been in operation for a long, long time. You've grown significantly. What has changed over the years? And actually, as importantly, or more importantly, what's changed this year, which is a pretty phenomenal year?
Yeah. So really if I look back, I've been here since 1999. And when I came, we were in a building on 11th and Sycamore. And it worked for the food pantry. It worked for, the food distribution. At that time, a lot of our food was non-perishable items that was donated. A lot of the product that we brought in was from Quaker and General Mills, to name a couple. And we got really very little perishable product. So one of the biggest changes in the last 20 years is our ability to handle perishable product. A lot of that was augmented when we built this building that we're currently in 2013, thanks to a lot of community support and a little bit of government support to build the building to really make an impact on hunger. And the year that we moved into the facility, the year before it, we distributed I believe, just under 4 million pounds of food.
Wow.
Fiscal year 20, we distributed over 10 million pounds of food, or about 8.4 million meals to people in need throughout the Cedar Valley.
Wow.
So one of the biggest changes is our physical location and the infrastructure that we've been able to build to be able to capture more food. because as supply chain and as manufacturers streamline their processes, there's less food available. But so we have to change and adapt as that goes. So probably like I said, one of the biggest changes is the amount of perishable good protein items, fruits and vegetables that we're able to handle. But then you have to move it a lot faster. So we have to have systems set up to make sure that we're moving that product.
Right.
But then as we've gone through the years, we really adapt to what's changing in our environment, depending on if there's a disaster, what needs are in the community, all of that. And it ebbs and flows. And this year, the most significant changes is with the pandemic and the increase in need. And I believe around 2008, when the floods hit and that, we really got involved in disaster relief. And we have been able to react because of that. The same thing, and that happened in 2016, rather than we change our systems based on what's happened in the past. And we were somewhat ready for a major pandemic, but really not, because we really had to revert and change our whole operation.
We've been talking about pivoting. Everybody's pivoting because of the pandemic, and the reality is you pivot all the time. You have to pivot and adapt regularly in order to meet your market and meet the people in need that take advantage of your services. So you mentioned a lot that's happened in the last 20 years, but we know a lot has happened this year, and I know you have some pictures that you provided for us to share, and maybe we could start with those because it does illustrate and demonstrate a lot of those changes that have happened. I think Erin is going to go ahead and pull up the pictures for us to use. There we go.
So this is a box. Yeah. Yeah, it's little, but it's a box of food, and it's a perishable box of food. Many of you may have heard of the additional food support that the government provided. There were many different programs that happened with that. One of those was the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program. And that started in June, where tractor trailer, where product was boxed. It was good. It was really good product. This happens to be one of the first ones we got that was nothing but produce. And so just about every week since June, we've gotten about 1,000 boxes just like this. That have come into the food bank and been distributed out. Most recently, there were 10 churches on the east side of throughout Waterloo, that got together and distributed a lot of them on a Saturday. We provided the food because we have the proper storage, handling it in a safe manner. We got it to them, and then the churches distributed it to people in need. But these boxes have been available to not only the clients of the Cedar Valley food pantries and the families we serve through there, but throughout our mobile pantries as well. And it's simply a box of food that's nutritious and perishable. Some of the food boxes that we got meat boxes at one point. We got dairy boxes. Sometimes there was a mix. And we're continuing to distribute them out. But that's just one piece of government support. We also were very instrumental working with the governor they had formed the Feeding Iowans Task Force to really help us with the need. And that brought along a lot of other resources to us. We started Past the Pork, working with the Iowa Department of Agriculture and the pork producers. Beef Up Iowa, working with the cattlemen and the Iowa Department of Agriculture, as well as Turkey to Table, to help us get more protein items into the food bank. So there were a lot of programs like that happened that provided us additional food sources that we hadn't gotten before.
Good. And I know we have other pictures with activities that you supported and provided. What are we're looking at eggs here.
So these aren't eggs, they're actually food boxes. One of the biggest things that we had to change this year was how we distributed food. Our pantry was normally client choice, our mobile pantry was normally client choice, but we had to put food boxes together. And so that takes changes with our volunteer pool, adding in the whole safety precautions of social distancing, masking, all of that. And so these are carts that are ready to go out for distribution early on in the pandemic, when we had to switch from client choice here at the food bank to go to curbside distribution. And so we had volunteers that were able to come in and help us put these boxes together. The beauty of our facility, it's big enough so we can have different volunteer groups working in different areas, keeping them social distanced. And so this was one area of our warehouse that was set up to put these food boxes. And we still continue to this day doing food boxes. We had opened our pantry up to the community to come in again and do client choice, but then the numbers started rising. And so we went back to curbside, and we'll at least for through the first week of January be curbside for distribution for our local pantry.
Okay, very good. What do we have next, Erin?
So this is one of our many mobiles that we started. Serving 16 counties in Northeast Iowa, we also were right there alongside of all of our member agencies, especially our food pantries. And most of our food pantries stayed open. Because of some health issues, we actually partnered with the food pantry in Charles City to do an additional mobile distribution for about 4 or 5 months this summer. This is one of those mobile food pantries where we would come and drop the food off. We were very fortunate to get the help of the National Guard because of the Feeding Iowans Task Force, and they were here helping us on-site pack boxes and sort food and all of that for about 2 months in the summer. And then, but we also got help from the transportation unit. And so they helped us with adding additional support through mobile pantries in Northeast Iowa. And so this is at the mobile pantry in Charles City, I believe. And as you can see, it's strapped to their transport, and they just put it on the ground, and then they're able to offload it. So that additional help really helped us get more food in the community.
Right. I believe we have a picture of some of the National Guard.
I think there is. Yep.
Yep. There you go.
So after it's offloaded, they set it up, and then what would happen is the cars would drive by, and people would just stick the food in the car. So it was social distance. It was safe. Nobody had to, touch anything. The other thing early on we were able to do is with our verification process for services through our mobiles and our pantry system, we got that to be verbal consent. So we didn't have to fill out all the paperwork that we normally do. So that was a good thing because we're trying to mitigate exposure as much as possible.
Exactly. Absolutely. What do we have next? That one I was waiting for because this is a very impressive. Very impressive.
I love this picture because that's really the team that leads it at the food bank. We made the decision in April that we would do an internal mask mandate. And so we needed a picture of our staff because they have worked really, really, really hard this year in so many ways, stepped up and helped in so many different ways. And so one day we took a picture of the staff, and it's one of my favorite. To me, this depicts of the work that's being done and all the people that come together to make the Northeast Iowa Food Bank happen on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And it's so impressive, very impressive. So Barb, can you share some of the stories of those that you've served and worked with, some of the impact stories from the food bank?
So, there's been a lot of great stories that have come back. The people that call us, one of the things we did early, especially with our drive up model, is we tried to give people more food so they would have come less often. Traditionally through our pantries, they would be able to come once a month. And then we had our produce pantry. And so just the stories of appreciation that they've shared. You know what? I didn't know what I was going to do to feed my family today if I didn't. But I want to share a couple different stories that shows the true partnership of the Northeast Iowa Food Bank and what we do throughout Northeast Iowa. One of those stories is early on in the pandemic when Tyson was going to close. Working with People's Clinic, they started identifying food insecure people as they were going through their testing. And so being a part of the Emergency Operations Center, you get to find out what's happening, and then you go back and you figure out solutions. And so when it came to food insecurity, we pulled together Operation Threshold, Salvation Army, the county, People's Community Health Clinic, and we put in a system in place where if there was somebody homebound that needed food, that we would first get boxes to people's, but if they called us and needed food, we would call the Salvation Army. They would have somebody pick it up and then deliver it. The other thing that happened was with Embark, when there were a lot of people that were in need, and they had connections with a lot of people who were in need. And so we then started giving Embark case slotted items that they would put into food boxes and then distribute to the homes. And we're still meeting and working on this on an ongoing basis. The other piece of it is there were people in shelters that were becoming infected. So in order to help them, they worked with the county, and the county was putting them in hotels. So then we would provide food to the people in the hotels. So we created an internal system among the agencies to really help meet that need. There was a distribution that Operation Threshold did with some of their clients that we, again, provided them the food, and then they distributed it out. Because we wanted to make sure that locally in Blackhawk County, that if there was somebody that needed food and couldn't get out, we were going to get it. Another story was early on up in, I believe it was Spillville, the mayor of the town had a lot of older people that they were trying to keep safe. So working with them, we were able to bring them this town senior boxes to hand out to people who were in need in that community. And then another partnership that we have ongoing is with YPT and Together for Youth. They have traditionally had their classes here at the food bank on Monday nights, and then we send food home with them. Well, they've still continued to do that, but they've done it all curbside. And Monday nights, families who are in need with a group of people that they're working with and can do enrichment activities and the like. They come, they get their food, they get the activities. So that way YPT can still keep in contact with those families. So there's all kinds of little programs like that. You know, the number of food pantries that we provided technical assistance to, we were able, because of the support from the community that we've gotten, provide all the food out of the food bank at no extra charge. We traditionally charge our member agencies what's called a shared maintenance fee that helps us underwrite our cost. It's not a fee for the food, but it's a fee for our cost to collect and distribute it. So pretty much since April, there has been no fee on anything, because we've underwritten that because of the generous support we've gotten into the community. And so it's just stories like that. We just recently did our holiday distribution, again, curbside for 3,000 families between here, Waverly, serving Bremer and Butler County. And just the smiles on people's faces, how appreciative people are, how it can help them, because we know that their hours were reduced. A lot of them lost their jobs, whatever that is. We've really worked hard in the community to really make an impact. I think of the people at St. Luke's Episcopal Church who have started a pantry, as well as Westminster Presbyterian Church, who started a pantry this year, just to meet those additional needs in our community. And we're grateful for those partnerships, because the food is available to us. We just need help with the partnerships to move it into the community and make a bigger impact to ensure that people in Northeast Iowa have access to food.
Well, you've kind of touched on it a little bit with your partners and stakeholder collaborative organizations, but how can the community best help you, like individually? How can the community be of help to the food bank that we can help distribute that information?
So a few different ways. You can always donate. For every dollar that's provided to us, we can provide 4 meals back to the community. The other way is volunteering. We have been open since the start for volunteering. That volunteering has changed. We've really seen a decrease in group volunteers. You know, our base was churches coming in, businesses letting their workers come and volunteer with some of their staff time. But we are open for volunteers. We need daily volunteers. We need people to help us ride in our trucks and drive our trucks. We need people that will help us sort food, distribute food out of the pantry, put food boxes together. We have about 4 or 5 stations throughout the building that are open to volunteering, but we have to have you sign up because we have to limit the number of people that can come in based on our group leads. So I encourage everybody to go to our website to sign up to volunteer, because it does help us get the work done. And as we look into the future, the short-term future, we'll still need food boxes. We'll still need food sorted, all of that. So with that, if people can volunteer, that's something we really need.
So the best way to volunteer is through the website rather than calling.
If you want to call, you can. And Maddie or Dan will walk you through the website to sign up.
Okay.
But there is a link right on our website to sign up, and you have to sign up each individually.
Yeah.
It can't be like a group, you know. So that way we know exactly how many people are coming in.
And we'll be able to do that in the future. We'll be able to get back to group. I know our Cedar Valley Leadership Institute looks forward to every year coming in for a day and or half day. And so I know we'll be able to do that in the future, but for now, this is the safest way to engage people and get the work done.
Yep. And it works. I mean, it does work because we do have people coming in at night. But every little bit helps. And during the day too, we've had some volunteers that have been here 2 and 3 times, two or 3 days every week, just to help us.
Very good. Well, this has been great information. I know you're giving presentations all over the place with data and metrics, but having visuals, I think, is very important for people to see not only the impact, but the work that's gone in to making sure that we can approach those who are food insecure and help at any point. What do you want to leave this audience with, Barb? What other information would you like to share?
The only thing that I'd like to add is first thank the community for the support they've given us, because we can't do what we do without community support. Right. But if you're interested in helping, go to our website at www.northeastiowafoodbank.org or call the food bank at 319-235-0507. We'd love to see you. We'd love to have you be involved. And if now the timing isn't right now, we completely understand. But just keep us in mind for the future as a place to reach out and help us.
Absolutely.
But I also, just want to thank you, Carrie, and the Grow Cedar Valley, but also the community and Northeast Iowa for everything they've done for us.
Absolutely. And back at you. I mean, thank you and your team. You are changing lives day in and day out, and not only through the pandemic, but you were before, and you will continue in the future. So thank you for your hard work. It does make a big difference. And so this, just for those who are watching, this is being recorded. We will post it on our website and on YouTube and other platforms. So if there is information that you received here that you'd like to share with your coworkers or friends or neighbors, please take advantage of this recorded session. And Barb, thanks again. Have a great holiday. Tell your team thank you and hang in there. We're behind you and we'll be there every step